Hello guys, Messenger of Death here, and we're here to discuss Digimon World. I have a love-hate relationship with this game. I recently completed the game for the first time in over 20 years. I only ever beat it once as a child through trial and error, and like 6 or 7 of my friends at school all talking and trying to help each other and sharing ideas. Many people I knew never even beat the game, never even got the chance. It was just way too complicated. After going back to it for over 20 years of not playing this game, I went right back through it. And to say the least, I did enjoy myself. But I also hated the experience at the same time. Why is that? Stay tuned and you'll find out. Now, when it comes to Digimon World, this game is basically a game where you are basically looking after your Digimon. It's like a Pocket Tamagotchi device, but in a game format. Take care of them, raise them, daycare, basically. You're raising a baby, you're helping it grow up. You're basically a full-time adult. Your goal is to basically go around and try and recruit Digimon to join the city, as many of the Digimon decided to leave suddenly, and many things begin to happen on the island, which caused a butterfly effect of many Digimon losing their memory, going out into the wild, fighting each other and becoming violent. A lot of things begin to happen in the world and nobody really knew why. It turns out there was a mad scientist behind it all who basically wanted to control everything. He wanted to mess around with the world and interfere with it. The evil man known as Analog Man, who he actually is, I don't really know. I just know he wanted to control the digital world and have full control over it. And that's why he caused all these terrible things to happen. He was brainwashing Digimon and sending them to attack you, such as when he sends Airdramon after you or various other Digimon. And they had no idea why they were doing it until you defeat them. It's like I was being controlled by somebody. And your goal is to try and figure out what happened, what's the mystery behind the island, why have things gone awry. And in order to do that, you have to go to various places on the island, recruiting various Digimon, fighting others. You have to raise and take care of your Digimon and digivolve them and bring them to a level they can actually compete in a fight. Just so you can progress further. But that's also where the issue of the game also lies, in the fact that you spend 90% of your time literally babysitting your Digimon. Your Digimon actually has a lifespan. You have to take care of it. Make sure you get no care mistakes. Make sure you feed them. Take them to the toilet. You are literally looking after a toddler. And the game also does barely anything to actually help you out and give you the information that you need. Which is a shame, because I loved Digimon as a kid. I really did. Like, I was a big fan of Digimon. However, playing through this game really turned me off Digimon in terms of games wise, because I played this. This game, my first experience in a Digimon game. Bear in mind, I was also a lover of Pokemon. And while I preferred Digimon as a franchise to the Pokemon franchise, it is inescapably clear how much more superior Pokemon was than this game in terms of being able to pick up and play and understand what the hell you're doing. There is no possible way you can argue that this is easier to understand than the Pokemon game was. No possible way. Because it had a very simple, basic formula, whereas this game didn't really tell you anything, was confusing as hell, you have no idea where you're going, you get ambushed randomly just from walking through a screen and suddenly, oh, big boss appears, and while you did have rival trainers periodically show up in Pokemon, in this game, if you lose, there is actually a consequence. Your Digimon loses a life. Not only that, when you were finally enjoying exploring and having some freedom to finally move around and do something, you now realize you have to go back to grind once again just to be able to play the game. And while you had to grind in Pokemon to fight certain trainers, sure. Most of the time there'd be other trainers in the way which would level you up subsequently enough to where you could actually handle the next gym. In fact, people have done many speedruns on Pokemon where literally they skip the majority of trainings because they don't need to. Whereas this game, you need to use that gym if you want to succeed. There's no skipping it. Digimon as a franchise, I really loved and adored. The designs of the monsters are way cooler than Pokemon. Not even in the same ballpark. Gyarados is my favourite Pokemon. And his design looks amazing. That's why I love Gyarados so much. He's also strong. But I'd be a fool to say that he looks better than the majority of Digimon because Digimon had the designs. Some of the Digimon designs are phenomenal. They look great, fantastic, and they have a sense of scale. And people may hate to hear this if you're a Pokemon fan, but Digimon are better than Pokemon. They are. They're stronger, they're much more superior. If you put Mega Charizard in a fight against something from the Digimon world, they would die. Digimon have a much higher power scaling than what Pokemon can put out. Massively different. So where did it go wrong? What made this game ruin it for so many people and make them drop Digimon as a franchise and just go with Pokemon and stay with Pokemon all those years? This game was probably one of the biggest contributing factors to it. Every subsequent Digimon game since Digimon World 1 has done something different for the most part. So whereas Pokemon stuck with the same formula because it worked, you have Digimon World 1, which is basically daycare simulator. Digimon World 2, I haven't played, but it's basically Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. But it came first, before Pokemon adopted that gameplay style. If you want to know where Pokemon got the idea for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, you have Digimon to thank for that. Digimon World 2 was the formula that Pokemon copied for Mystery Dungeon. Don't believe me? Compare the two. Play through Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and play through Digimon World 2. Actually, play through Digimon World 2 first, then go play through Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and tell me they did not copy. Digimon World 3, which to many is the greatest Digimon game in most people's opinion, because they copied the Pokemon formula and it's a lot more simple. There's no dying Digimon. You're not having to sacrifice Digimon to get a new form. You literally just level and you unlock new forms and new techniques, and you can revert back to your previous Digivolution and go for a different Digivolution by leveling up more and things like that. Again, didn't play Digimon World 3. But automatically, it already sounds, from what I've heard, much better than this. And Digimon World 2. Then, the game that people don't want to acknowledge. People don't want to acknowledge this game. And unfortunately it exists. And I played through it. I beat the game as a kid. Me and my friends would play this game co-op. Digimon World 4. So, instead of being a Digimon actually doing proper fights as a Digimon, you are now a Digimon running around and you hold swords. Yeah, you heard me. Swords. You run around with melee weapons and hit things with them. And you have to level up more and progress further in the game to unlock stronger weapons to use. And then you have to do side challenges to gain Digivolutions. And the Digivolutions don't fight as Digimon. They also do the same thing, where they just run around as a Digimon and use weapons. Not War Greymon using his claws or his shield or anything like that, or his actual techniques. He wields a weapon. Like, why? Why does this exist? So, Digimon has not stuck to a specific formula for their games. They change it all the time. It's like dipping your toes into every piece of pudding and hoping that people will stick around enough to enjoy the next piece of pudding that tastes vastly different. Now, this game, for people who were watching Digimon at the time, this actually came out before the anime, by the way. Just let me put that out there. But most of the people found out about this. They did not know what Digimon digital monsters were, but when they saw the anime, they then were like, okay, I've seen a game on that, I want to play this. Yo, Greymon looks sick. Yeah, I want to get me a Greymon. Oh man, have you seen Garurumon? Like, bro, I want to play this game. I want to run around and get Digimon and stuff and fight, and this would be awesome going into a digital world and stuff. And they got this game. Confusing. You don't know what to do, don't know where to go. You get wiped out of nowhere because an enemy happens to ambush you off screen. Who's just there the second you walk too far in while you're just exploring. Oh, big enemy here. Do you have the money to buy enough healing items before you come across this? Have you fought things along the way already? And you have this big strong Digimon with thousands of health already? And you're at the beginning of the game just running around trying to find out where to go. You don't even know how the gym works and what stats you need to achieve what form for your Digimon. You don't know what Digimon you're getting. And you get Numamons and Sukamons every 2 seconds. Because you let a Digimon poo on the floor too much because you don't know where all the toilets are. And unless you figure out that Sukamon and Numamon can actually eat the poo off the floor, if there are 15 on the floor, you will keep getting that Digimon. That will not change. You will keep getting it. Do you know what a care mistake is? Did you know certain Digivolutions, if you have even one care mistake or more, you don't get the Digivolution? Do you know what a care mistake is? Is it explained to you? No. This game was so hard for people to understand. It really was. And this game could have been so much better. If I could actually upgrade the gym a bit more, I reckon it would be a lot more tolerable and a lot more enjoyable. Because the problem with the gyms is, you start off getting like, what, 7 or 8 points or something from a gym equipment. And you can upgrade it to maybe 12, 4 extra points. Right? Something like that. Also, what stage of Digivolution you're at determines how many more points you get. There is also a hidden mechanic where certain Digiforms gain more points using certain gym equipment than others. That's never explained. If you was able to actually get more out of the gym and increase it so where I'm getting like 20 odd each time. So, through playing the game and through actually exploring and getting it upgraded, I cut my time in half or 3/4, it'd be great. You know, obviously I have to go through the game enough to earn that. But it barely changes, but by a few points. So, it may knock a few minutes at best. So, no matter how far you get into the game, if you're at the end of the game, you still take 2 hours to raise a Digimon to an ultimate to be able to continue. And when you're at the end of the game and you've gone through this multiple times, it does start to burn you down. Now, what is the plus side of this game? Because I've talked about some negatives here. What are the good things? Okay, I love it that, you know, I can Digivolve and gain all my forms. I actually have my partner running around behind me. The combat system is interesting, you know. You, depending on your Digimon's brain stats determine how much they listen to commands. And that can massively change how simple or horrible a battle is. Or your stats actually contribute and mean something. They're not a waste of time. They have an effect. You don't exactly control your Digimon specifically, for the most part, until you get enough brains, and you have to just keep shouting at them and hope they do what you want. Sometimes the Digimon just run around like an idiot. And it can be frustrating, but for the most part, you can learn new moves by defeating Digimon and use them in battle. And some are faster and slower, which determines how much better an encounter is than it was. But for the most part, I'm actually running around with my own partner. It feels like it is somewhat alive and it has a mind of its own. It's not just me holding a controller and saying, do this, do that, do this, do that. The Digimon's actually running around and fighting on its own. If I don't put in a command, my Digimon will just go on and fight. It will make up its own mind and what skills it wants to use. And it was great because if I didn't want to put an effort in, I didn't have to. Of course, it'd be a lot better if I did. But the fact that it felt alive, like I actually had a Digimon partner, rather than just being me clicking a button 24/7 to say do this attack or use this move, was definitely very enjoyable for me in terms of feeling like I'm kind of there in the immersion, you know, I'm immersed into the world, I'm running around with my Digimon partner. Through running around and doing certain things in game will actually trigger actual events, so your actions actually have consequences. Whether it's me running around and discovering Shellmon, for example, and getting his bulletin board, it will have an effect on certain encounters in the game and allow me to find new ones. Through rescuing Waymon, for example, in the Ice Tundra, he will allow me access to a new area. Through rescuing Dramojimon, I unlock a treasure hunting thing where I can literally pay them to find me a rare item. Everything you do actually feels like it matters. It actually has some consequence to the world. It unlocks something for me back at the city. Not every Digimon does, but the prosperity rate has an effect as well. So each one I recruit back to the city increases my prosperity. For reaching certain thresholds of prosperity, I unlock new features or new Digimon to show up. I can then encounter a new Digimon because I reach 30 or 40, for example. I reached 30 prosperity and I left the house and I got ambushed by Greymon. Who's just there like, I want to fight you, I've heard about you, you know. So I feel like my actions that I've done in game, all this effort I've put in, actually meant something. The game has a lot of character through the animations your Digimon will do to having to take care of them. While it does suck, at the same time, it makes them feel more alive. You know, I feed them a certain amount. My Digimon will do a happy dance or something, depending on what form it is. Some are really cute, some are a bit lame. I could have sworn I literally heard my Centaurus-mon saying to me, "You bastard," or something. Whatever the hell he was saying, that's what it sounded to me. He was calling me a bastard for feeding him. I think that's what it were. If anybody actually knows what he was saying, please let me know. Because that's what it literally sounded like every single time I fed him. And going, "You bastard." The thing that I also love about the introduction to the game, like when you first start it, you actually see your protagonist who you're going to be playing as. And the actual opening cutscene actually is you. You are in the opening cutscene when you start the game and you're running to the park to play Digimon with your friends. Because when you beat the game, when you start the game back up, there is another scene which plays, which is you actually using your Digimon. It won't be the one you actually have in game, but what said at the start is said my Metal Mamimon versus your Metal Greymon. There's a fight going on. Then when you beat the game, it turns out one of those kids that was playing, you're the one that was there. And you've been telling your friends that you went to Digimon World after you saved it. And they're like, "What? No way. That never happened. You're full of shit." And then you literally get sucked into the Digimon World in front of them. It felt great. The opening cutscene wasn't just made for the sake of introducing the game. You're actually in the opening cutscene and you're actually playing as part of it. You are this kid who got sucked into the Digimon world to save it, and that is your job now. You have to save it. And when you're finished, you remember everything. You tell your friends and they don't believe you. But then you're like, "I'm going to Digimon World." And you get sucked back in. So then when you leave the Digimon World again, your friends will be like, "Okay, you was right, bro. Yeah, I want to go to Digimon World." It was just such a nice, neat little thing that they put in the game. The opening intro to Digimon World, where you actually see a fight going on between Metal Mamimon and Metal Greymon, was so cool. The graphics at the time were great. The designs of the creatures when they're following you was great. Bear in mind that They didn't introduce your Pokemon actually following you until much later. Digimon did it first. Digimon did a lot of things that Pokemon has now copied into their basically establishment of what they do in the games. They copied so many ideas from Digimon, and slowly over time, Pokemon has started to become Digimon. I'm not being funny, but Pokemon copied Digimon World 2. Was it Heart Gold, Soul Silver? You actually have your Pokemon following you. Digimon World 1 did it first, years ago. Mega Evolution, using an item to transform your Pokemon. Bit like how the Digidestined had to get crests and things to be able to transform. There's so many things that Pokemon are now copying blatantly off Digimon because they need something new to add to the games, and then they constantly retcon what they added to the game. Like they added Mega Evolutions, and they removed Mega Evolutions. Then they added Z moves, and then they removed Z moves, and then they added Gigantamax forms. Whether they're going to stick around into subsequent games or not, I don't bloody know. But they can't make up their mind. They're doing basically what Digimon's doing. They are. They are doing basically what Digimon's doing. All that time where they just keep changing everything. Another gripe that is a big issue with Digimon is you don't always get the same Digimon in the games, right? Digimon will have a completely different Digivolution path depending what game you play. Or if you watch anime, you'll see something turn into a form that you never seen them turn into before. Yeah, you've seen them turn into something else previously. And now Pokemon doesn't have all their Pokemon in the games. Now you have to buy DLC, or many Pokemon are just straight up missing. The reason why I bring these points up is because people always compare Digimon versus Pokemon all the time. It's always a heated debate of which one is better. And you're entitled to your opinion, I'm entitled to mine. But at the same time, bear in mind that Pokemon has done nothing but pretty much copy Digimon in a lot of cases now. And people always said, oh, Digimon copy Pokemon. Are you sure about that? Are you definitely sure about that? All in all, I love this game because it has so much to offer. I feel like my actions matter. There are consequences for my actions, choices I make. Exploring is great. I love exploring and finding new areas and finding hidden secret things I didn't know about, or I encountered a Digimon I did not know could be recruited. And I unlocked a new move from this fight. It felt like I got something out of it. I found a rare item because I fought this Digimon, and now I have a free chip which boosts my stats. And while the game didn't always explain things to you, I did enjoy playing it. I just couldn't handle the constant raising a baby Digimon 24/7. After the 13th time, I was just done. I just wanted to be done with the game. I couldn't be bothered anymore. Of course, I persevered and I stuck through the game because I wanted to bring people entertainment, and it was 100 subs special and I wanted to finish it. But it turned out, it started from being a fun adventure for me, where I was actually having a lot of fun with the game, to tedious frustration and boredom by the end. Because I was tired of all my work meaning nothing in the end. When I've raised this Digimon, I've made them nice and strong, I'm ready to tackle the game, taking all the tough fights, and then I constantly just have my Digimon die, and I have to go back. I have to go back to train it once again for the 13th time for hours, when I just want to carry on playing. I don't want to have my immersion broken and ruined for the sake of going back to train once again. There is a very big problem when it comes to Digimon World, and that is the training. And it's probably the reason why this game gets a lot of hate. There are other reasons as well, of course, but it probably has a big factor in why so many people don't like this game, and for good reason. But we're not going to talk about the problem it was for children back then who struggled to figure out how to play the game. I want to talk about it from a different perspective before I do that. And that is the amount of time spent playing the actual game. See, the majority of the time, you're training your Digimon to do content, right? So the majority of the time, is stood there, going from machine to raise certain stats. Then you've got to feed them. You have to constantly run them to the toilet. So you have to leave the machine, run to the toilet, just to run back. Then you need meats, and you got to run all the way to Palmon. Then you got to run back to the machine. Then they're getting exhausted, so then you got to run to Punimon or to the doctor to get rid of the tiredness level. And then you run back to the machine again. You've also got to feed them. And then they get tired, and then they gotta sleep, and then sometimes when they wake up, they also need a toilet again, so you have to run back to the toilet. It adds up. It really does add up. And it turns the grind to get stats up into an even lengthier process. Now, the average length of my videos is around 35 minutes. A lot of episodes are 40 odd minutes or 50 minutes. And those are episodes that are uploaded with cut and edited footage, right? So it's not the whole raw footage, the bits you don't see that I cut out. And if we go with 35 minutes, and I'm currently up to episode 20 at the point that this is being recorded right now for this section. That's 980. Divide that by 60. It's roughly around 16.3 hours, right? So, 16.3 hours, I've run around and actually done content. And that's not exactly entirely true either. Because then we also have to factor in that sometimes I'll leave some of the training in. From when I went from baby to rookie and whatnot. So that's not even all that's spent running around doing content. Some of that's still including the training I've had to do. That's not including me having to figure everything out, because the game tells you literally nothing. Not me having to pause to look up stats like I started to do at the end, the middle of the playthrough, because I was trying to go through blind and it just wasn't going well. Like, it's hours upon hours, right? It's just me spent trying to figure stuff out and train my Digimon just so I could do some content. In order to get to Ultimate, I'm spending like an hour, hour and a half, maybe more. Sometimes, because I'm also pausing and looking stuff up to try and figure out how to make sure I get the Digimon right, what stats I need, where to go next. So, we'll say roughly an average on episodes where I have to train a Digimon up, and I did this about 13 times by this point, because of failing to get the right Digimon and getting like a Sukamon or a Numamon, and then having to go back and let that Digimon die just to then make another one. That just adds to it. We'll say roughly around 3 hours, right? So if I do a little calculation, so 3 hours, which is 180 minutes, and we times that by 28 episodes, 5,040, divide that by 60, 84 hours. Right. So, around 84 hours, not completely accurate, because there are other factors to take in, but 84 hours, I've been doing the playthrough at this point. It's actually longer, bear in mind. This is just if we go off an average of me having a 35-minute, right? And that's also having to take into the fact that a lot of the raw footage is edited out for the sake of convenience for the video. So the percentage of that, if I actually do a little calculation here, which I'm about to do, right. So 84 hours. And then 16.3, calculate 19.4%. Right. So 19% of the time, that's not completely true because some of it is me doing the training in the video. But 19% of the time me actually playing the game, I've been able to actually run around, fight Digimon, try and recruit Digimon and bring them to the city. That is a problem. Because 81% of the time is literally me stood there at the flipping gym. That's literally me stood there at the gym 81% of the time that I'm playing this game. And this is only on episode 28. It's not even the full playthrough yet. I've still got other things to work out and figure out. And I still have other episodes to do to actually beat the game. But we're already at this pool already at 28 episodes. And 19% of the time I've actually been able to run around and actually play and have fun by actually fighting and doing something other than running to a gym equipment and constantly going to the toilet every 2 minutes with my Digimon. That is a lot of time spent training rather than playing the game. And that's what turns a lot of people off, because a lot of people are like, I've done all my training, I want to run around my Digimon, and I want to play the game now. But then I'm constantly being reverted back to, okay, I've got to go back to the gym and do it all again. Okay, third time, yep, now I got to do it again. Fourth time. Then when it hits like the 8th time, you're just like, this is... I'm getting a bit fed up now. 13th time, and then it's just like, I hate this. I hate having to go back to the gym every single time, all the time. I just want to keep playing. I don't want to keep getting reverted and having my intentions get completely stopped by a massive wall just coming in and going, you have to train them again just to be able to play the game. And I spend most of the time actually doing that than actually playing the game. There's a difference between grinding XP and fighting Digimon. I'm having fun, I'm using moves and stuff like that in a game. Than sitting there having to constantly run to a gym equipment and play baby daycare. Essentially. I'm trying to play a game and have fun. I'm not here to just babysit. And it does kind of whittle down the experience. The worst part is that 19% isn't accurate. It's actually less. I've done less time running around actually playing the game. Because there's just so many factors to consider where I've not actually been able to just run around and find Digimon and recruit them and stuff like that. There's me trying to figure out what to do because I'm stuck and I'm struggling. It's a lot. Now, another issue with the game is it is terrible at explaining things. I'm not even joking. In order to play this game, you either go through trial and error to ridiculous, absurd degrees, or you look stuff up. Trying to play this game without any kind of guide, like I did throughout half of it, was a miserable experience because I didn't know what to do. It was fun when I found something by mistake and I was like, yeah, I found this. I didn't want to look everything up. It was like, oh my god, I found this. Oh, cool. That does this and that does that. The surprise of it was fantastic. But it got to a point where it's just like, okay, I've gone here and I can't progress. I can't go here either. I keep getting wiped. What do I do now? What do I do? Where do I go? I'll try this place. Okay, it's a bit too much for me. Okay, what do I do now? How do I get this Digimon? Is this Digimon the one that I want? No. What skills does it have? How do I get new skills? How does the discipline bar work? Why do I see two different faces sometimes where one is blue and one's not? What stats do I need for a specific Digivolution? None of this is explained to you. Unless you use a guide, or you get really lucky, you're probably not going to get the Digimon you want, and probably get something you don't want. Probably end up with a Numamon, because you didn't meet any of the requirements. Or a Sukamon, because you let it poo too much, because you can't run through like 2 different screens without it pooing on the floor. And if you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you don't have any porta potties, too bad. How does the tamer level work? There's just so much in this game that is just not explained enough. And you just have no clue about it. You literally have to look stuff up if you want to fully complete this game. Or you're going to spend a ridiculously long amount of time trying. Because it's not as simple as just you having your Digimon and being like, okay, well, I'll just keep running around till I find something, just keep doing it. You have the thing to consider that your Digimon has a lifespan, it dies, you gotta go back to train again for those 2 to 3 hours. Just to get your ultimate, just to go into that area that you got killed in. What ultimate are you getting? Did you look it up? No? Do you know if you've even got the right stats for an ultimate? Has 11 days passed? Have you missed your chance? You never got an ultimate and it died as a champion? Why? Oh, wait. Doesn't tell you. This game was the envy of so many people I knew when I beat this game as a kid through trial and error with my friends. We beat the game, we didn't get 100% prosperity or anything like that, we just beat the final boss, and we called it a day. We was like, okay, we done it, yes. We figured it out finally, we finally took on the final boss. And people were so envious of this. People did not know what to do. They kept getting bloody Sukamon and Numamon over and over. They kept dying and losing to Kunamon. They're like, why the hell do I keep getting a Poo Digimon? What's going on? Because it was too hard for children to ever possibly grasp back then. Like, unless you write stuff down, you most of the time will not know what you're doing. You're just running around blind and aimlessly. Like, you don't even know about... so, apparently there's care mistakes you can make in the game, right? So, if you don't feed your Digimon, if it poos on the floor as a care mistake. Is there any way to track it? No, it does not tell you. You would have to literally write down any care mistake you did. That's how you keep track. Not because the game has any way to tell you. There's no Digimon you can speak to and be like, how did I get this to happen? Nothing. You have to keep track yourself. And children did not have the capacity to do that. And it pains me because I really enjoy Digimon. I love Digimon. Like, the anime was fantastic. It was better than Pokemon in my opinion. But the reason why Pokemon became such a success with the games is because everybody could understand it. Yes, you run around blindly, but it didn't take much effort. You could easily catch your team. Like, if you had a favourite Pokemon, you can go out and get it without any worries. You just have to find the route that it's on and be like, okay, I'm catching it. Yeah, ball, go. I got what I wanted. I want to be like Ash or Brock or Misty. I can get the Pokemon they had. I can run around certain areas and get them. But in Digimon World 1, if you wanted to be like Ty or Matt or Mimi or something, you're like, oh my god, I definitely want to make sure I get this anime protagonist Digimon and play like I'm them. You couldn't. Unless you knew what you were doing, knew what stats you needed, or you looked stuff up. That was the only way. If you wanted to be like Ty and be like, oh, I'm going to get me a Greymon, I'm going to get me Agumon, I'm going to Greymon, and then I'm going to get me a Metal Greymon. Do you know what stats you need? No? How are you going to get that Digimon? I don't know. You couldn't do it. So, while people were loving watching Pokemon and playing the games like they were in the anime and imagining they were Ash Ketchum or somebody and being like, oh, I'm Gary, you know, I'm way better than everybody else, you know. I'm going to get Gary's team and I'm going to be a beast. Digimon, people couldn't do that. Instead, it was confusion and pain and suffering and trying to figure out what to do. And most kids just gave up. The amount of Digimon World 1 games that just ended up collecting dust on the shelf that I knew people had. They just collected dust on the shelf because they played it. They kept trying and trying. Spent about a week or two trying with this game. They could not figure it out and they just never played it again. And it's a shame. Because if we get rid of the whole Digimon daycare prospect, it would be fantastic. There is a game that I've seen many a Digimon YouTuber talk about. A game where the majority of people hail it as the greatest game of all time. And this is the vast majority of people. Can you guess what game that is? It's Digimon World 3. Do you know why? Go on. I'll give you a minute. Let me know in the comments down below. Tell me. You know, funny enough, it had the same formula as Pokemon. Not entirely, 100%, but it did have a similar formula to Pokemon. You had a team. It was only 3, not 6. Your Digimon didn't constantly die and have a lifespan. You just level it up, train it at the right places, and you can get different Digivolutions. Like, Digivolution will be level 1 once you get it, and you'd have to level it up. But your Digimon didn't die, and you can revert back to a previous Digivolution or go for a different Digivolution without losing your Digimon. That is why it was so much more successful and loved by people, was because they didn't have some annoying complex maze of what the fuck do I do to play a game. It was just, I'm playing Digimon. I'm having fun, I'm battling, I'm getting experience, my Digimon's getting stronger, he's leveling up. Oh, cool, I unlocked this Digivolution, I can change it to a champion now. Oh, if I get this stat, I can turn into this. Oh, cool. I have all these different Digivolutions at my fingertips. I can revert back if I don't like what I am. Leveling up gets me new moves. This is simple and easy to understand. It's very fun. I'm having a blast. Look at my sick Digimon team I got. It was night and day in difference. And I feel like that's why Digimon World 3 is always hailed as the greatest Digimon game by the vast majority of people, as opposed to this game, which is the first game in the franchise. Usually the first game in a franchise is what's hailed so much. But in Digimon World's case, is unfortunately not. Because it was that one very difficult game that you just did not know how to play, how anything worked, and the complication was so mind-boggling. It turned off most people, and mostly kids were watching Digimon back in the day, when Digimon first came out. And they just wanted to play their game and have fun and get their cool favourite Digimon and have a blast, and they just could not. Those who persevered eventually would figure it out, and they could have it. But the majority of people would not give it the time of day to reach that point. Because the majority of the time is literally just you stood there at a gym, training aimlessly, unaware of most of the mechanics of the game, because the game just simply did not tell you. This concludes my thoughts on Digimon World 1, and why I have a love-hate relationship with this game. It does so many things right, but so many things wrong. So much is not explained, so it's overcomplicated. But the rewards you get for actually playing and how things actually have consequences is amazing in this game, where I feel like everything I'm doing actually means something, for the most part, other than the training, because, while it does have an effect, I have to keep bloody doing it. You can understand why I started to get frustrating after the 13th time and above, because it was more than 13 times altogether, that I had to re-raise the Digimon, and it does get to a point where it really burns you out, because you're not having fun anymore. Making your Digimon stronger means you consume more time of its lifespan, which means you have less time to play with. But not making your Digimon strong enough means you can't continue to contribute towards the game. And there's just so many hidden mechanics in this game that are just never explained to you, that people are still figuring out today. This game came out in 2001, and there are still hidden mechanics that people are still finding today, that they weren't able to find back then. After all these years. 21 years and they're still finding stuff out about this game. Secret hidden mechanics and everything that were just never explained or given any form of information to the player in any kind of concept. This game had the potential to be great. And it is a cult classic. And I do love it. What they did was great. If they just didn't have the training section where I have to constantly go to a gym, this game would easily be up there in my top favourites. Because it had flair, it had character, it had so much to it. They allowed me to double or triple the amount of points I got at the gym. So then, instead of me sitting there for 2 hours just to be able to play the game, I could do it in maybe like half an hour. Fair enough, I wouldn't complain so much. But when you're forced to do something against your will, repeatedly, you don't have a choice in the matter, and you hate that thing that you were forced to do, you're going to grow resentment for the game. And Digimon World 1 caused me to eventually start to build that resentment as time went on. At first, I didn't mind. But after the constant battering of being forced to endure this, the constant battering of I'm getting somewhere, I'm having fun, I'm exploring, and then I'm just getting slapped in the face repeatedly, and it's just going, get back to that gym. Get back to that gym. Get back to that gym. And there was no promise I would get the same Digimon. The majority of the time during the end, I was using save states. Because I could not be bothered to go through a whole entire Digivolution line's lifespan just to wait to be able to use what I actually want to use. There were times where I was sat there for about an hour grinding and I didn't get the Digimon I was trying to get. So then I had to load and go to a previous one and make sure I did it right this time. Save states really saved me with this game. I don't really care that much about what Digimon I use. I didn't always use Digimon I wanted to use, but there were times where it's like I was going for something specific. I want to use this right now. So I would purposefully make sure I went for that. But there were times where even though I did it right, I apparently still did it wrong. Because I would get the right stats, but apparently I met criteria for a different Digimon. So I got a different one which I didn't want. So rather than it being like you need so much stat increase to this point, if you want to go over that cap, for example, let's say I needed 200 attack and 200 defense, but I wanted to make sure that my time wasn't wasted and I was getting extra bonus stats and I don't know, raise my speed as well and some brains, I may get a different Digivolution. So then I'm literally forced to sit there and not even train. I just have to sit there and wait for my Digimon to evolve. When it comes to trying to get a Numemon, I was trying to get a Numemon on purpose. Because you need to. Because that's how you get Monzaemon, so you can do the Toy Town. I literally couldn't do anything but sit there and wait. I weren't allowed to raise stats because I would not become a Numemon. I would become something else. So I had to literally just sit there and stare at my screen and wait. Bear in mind, a single day in Digimon World, if you're not using any equipment, is about 30-40 minutes of time. I know this because I was sticking stuff on in the background like anime or something while I was biding my time. And like I would get through a whole episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for example, which is about 40 minutes, by the time a day passed. This blatant form of time wasting I had to constantly endure, especially when you're trying to get a video out for YouTube, made it even worse. If I'm in my own time, it's fair enough, but when I've got a deadline to meet because I'm trying to do an episode every day, the amount of time I had to afford to the game just to be able to play the game, I had to every few days go back to the drawing board and just sit there and grind for hours at the gym, staring at a screen as my Digimon runs to the training equipment and runs back to me, and runs to the training equipment and runs back to me. Then he needs toilet, then he has to eat food. And then I have to get my meat every day from Palmon. And then he's exhausted, so I have to run to the doctor's. But he needs food again now. I rested at the doctor's an hour past, and now he needs to go toilet again. And now I can finally go back to the equipment. It burns you out. It really does. If it wasn't for this factor, if I could literally, like I said, 2 times the amount of points, or 3 times the amount of points at the gym, mid to late game, and severely cut that time down, this game would have been much better, a much better masterpiece. It was that and the confusion nature of the game that literally ruined it for millions who probably tried to play Digimon World 1 and just could not enjoy themselves or got completely confused and did not know how anything works. Thank you for watching. Hey guys, Messenger of Death here, and as you can see, this beautiful cat here called Tigger recently has some kittens. It would really make her day if you liked, commented and subscribed on any videos I upload. It would definitely make her a very happy mommy.